Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. Jake and Justin here on the mics to break down a full week of events and things to chat about with you all. We're doing this surprise, so we don't have the normal live listening here, Justin. Maybe a little less pressure, but we're also coming from another event that I think we probably want to talk about a little bit here. So you all know, obviously, very near and dear to our hearts is Siteman Cancer Center, and more specifically, the new head and neck tumor center that's being named after Robert Ebert and Greg Stubblefield, two family friends of ours. And obviously, our Hope for the Holidays that we've done now twice, which is crazy, has generated over $92,000, right, Justin, towards
Sure.
this as the cause. We just came from the ribbon cutting. Just a fantastic thing to be a part of. We'll put some content up for you all to see that, but want to share a quick thank you with everyone here that supported that cause for us. It's one of the biggest and I think best things that we do with this. Soccer's cool, right? But health and your family and friends and those that are around you, obviously, much more important. And we've played, I think, a little bit of a small role in that. But Justin, well, what do you think about the ribbon cutting? I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, obviously, having this in our backyard, Simon Cancer Center, is just one of the coolest things I think people don't really realize.
No, it's awesome, Jake. Sorry, I was just posted a comment for everybody to see it as well. We created a video for this called "A Lasting Impact." So, background on it, if anybody wasn't a part of the Hope for the Holidays, this is our annual charity event. This is our second year in a row that we hosted at the pitch because we absolutely love the pitch. And this is one where, as our platform, as our following began to grow in the podcast, you and I kind of discussed like it'd be cool to kind of really work towards something that we truly believe in, and that's raising awareness and raising money and funds to help fight cancer and hopefully find a cure. So something we've done now for the past 2 years. Like you said, we've raised over $92,000 in our Hope for the Holidays. And this was now able to attend the ribbon cutting for the Rob Ebert and Greg Stubblefield Head and Neck Tumor Center at Siteman Cancer, down on Kings Highway in Central West End. And that's where we came from. So a little late, but just it gives me the chills when I think about it, Jake. It was a really cool event. Big shout out to Emma and the foundation and everybody that contributed. It's going to be literally mind-blowing and just an extremely, extremely great way to use the platform that we have to do what we can in the community.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, God forbid, but if anyone listening or anyone in the future has to walk through those doors, I think we can both say just from our touch up against those people and how great they are and the physicians, you're in the best hands you can be in. And we are blessed in St. Louis to have WashU physicians and Simon Cancer Center in our backyard. I mean, people travel from all over the place to get here to receive that treatment. The Head and Neck Tumor Center is apparently maybe this is the only place in the country doing something like that today. So it's cutting edge for both the future and the present. And we're playing a small role.
And Jake, one of the coolest facts from Dr. Sid Perham tonight was that it usually, if you look at to get radiation post-treatment or post-surgery, it takes about 6 weeks. The amount of people that would get that treatment in that time period was 27%. Now with this new center, they're already seeing that flip to 72%. So this is something that is just absolutely mind-blowing and something that is, he used it over and over. He's like, we're one of the first in the country, if not the first, to be this expansive. And it's just huge to have in St. Louis. And happy to be a part of it. It's extremely humbling.
Yeah, agree. If anyone wants to chat about that, we obviously would be happy to. Very near and dear to our hearts. But so is this club. And I know that's what you all came for. So thank you for listening to that part. But I'm going to skip over what are you watching, Justin? You and I just came from ribbon cutting. Yeah. Special moment. We are watching history be made, and a lot of generous people, put forth their time and effort into that. So I will generate that as our what we are watching this week. But quick hits, Justin. On the injured front, before we get into the recap of this last match, things are on the up. And there's also a little bit of down too, right? That's just how this club is, right? I mean, we've got Totland and Horn, who came back, Horn especially earlier than I expected, to hit the bench. They didn't get in on the field. So fitness-wise, not really sure, especially with Totland. It sounds like he's still dealing with a little something, and they're being cautious with how they're treating him, which I fully endorse. I would love that, especially with the recent history with these aggravated injuries. Berkey, maybe trending towards next couple of weeks, getting back on the pitch in terms of playing. It sounds like maybe full training next week. Again, they're being very cautious with him. Given as a goalie, it's your hand. Like if it was a field player, they're probably pushing that a little bit little bit harder, but with him, not worthy. And also, Lunt is doing a great job, between the sticks. So there's not a huge rush. Otherwise, we have Reed still, who's training separately right now, recovering from his broken foot. Alm, God knows what, but we know some sort of hip impingement. Nilsson, still on the training table, getting worked on, training separately. Durkin also running apparently, but MCL injury. And then Kessler, Justin. The big news prior to the game was a Friday practice injury to one of the league's best defenders this season, happens to play for this club here at City. What did you think, Justin? I mean, like you played at a high level where there were practices the day before the game, but traditionally those practices aren't very intense. Maybe some set pieces, maybe some walkthroughs. Explain to me what Taylor Twellman had to weigh on this, Justin, and give me your take as well.
Yeah. So one, Jake, I'll walk it back. I was on a team at a high level. I didn't play very much for Slope, but seriously, this is very confusing to me. I mean, you see the tweet that we're sharing for anybody that's listening and not being able to see it on YouTube. Coach Smitty tweeted first, Berkey, now Kessler. I thought Fridays were like a walkthroughs and such. How are we having guys hurt on Friday trainings? Taylor Twellman quote tweeted that and said they train 11v11 a lot from what players have told me, ... And I would say with that ... that speaks volumes, because Taylor knows this as well. This is a time period, usually when you are truly going through set pieces, not only offensively, but defensively, on how you're looking to man those as well. And then also you're doing walkthroughs on like, how are you shifting our shape? What are our kind of game plans for this team? You're doing some more video, you're rolling out, you're stretching, you're getting some light jogging in. And it's really just to gear up into the game. No one needs to be going slide tackling, doing full 11s. So I am intrigued on this. Is like, all right, are we doing full 11s? I mean, I don't know if there's such thing as a lighthearted full 11, because these guys don't know how to turn it off. If you're playing any kind of either in like 3v3 game, it's 120%. So it's a little confusing to me, and it's extremely more concerning now, especially now that we're picking up these injuries on Fridays.
And when you think about it, some of these injuries like Berkey's, like Kessler's, obviously, suffered in training, right? And you don't want to have these types of injuries. Obviously, some things are inevitable, but it's causing the light to be shown on, or at least people to start blaming, like what's going on with the physios, what's going on with how they manage health in the team. Like, do we need to look at that, or do we get mad at that? And I'm not there yet. I hope it's just a lot of misfortune that seems to be occurring all at once. I guess the proof of concept will be if we can get all healthy again at some point in this season. But you hate to see it, especially to some guy like Kessler, who's been crucial to our team's early success in the back line so far.
And Jake, I'm gonna give it a quick uplift as well. Do you see what Tom Bogert tweeted an hour ago?
No.
We picked up and we did the purchase option for Mr. Simon Betcher. So it's obviously very new news. This is literally as of 7:30 p.m.
New news.
This is new news. This is new news from Mr. Tom Bogert, one of our favorite guys, just about an hour ago. So that is some exciting news, because I think that's something that people have been clamoring for. Everybody's asking for Klaus's head now that he scores a goal, and then it's called back. But I'm happy to see Mr. Simon Betcher sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, this one feels like all but done like the whole time. I'm looking to see if there's a number on this purchase option, because we must have gotten them pretty good. Because remember when we took him from AC Horsens on loan, that would have expired in June. So we're really, that's a good time to get this thing done, because we were really basically 2 months out from losing him again. And he would go back to a team that's an off season. So it doesn't make any sense. But them putting a purchase option on a loan player that they weren't playing, that we probably got a great deal on him. So I'm happy from a business perspective on that too. But of course, stoked to have Betcher tied here permanently now. I think that will be a fixture for years to come. But let's talk about the 11 here, Justin. Obviously, hands are sort of tied, right, with Olaf and these injuries, especially in the back line. I mean, we played our 3 healthy center backs that aren't named Michael Winsel, or if you want to call JGR a center back, technically he was on the bench too. But Hebert on the left center back, Baumgartel, essentially Yarrow. I want to give the back line a good amount of kudos, to stomach and keep off the board a Vancouver Whitecaps team that was absolutely annihilating it in the goals for category against some decent teams as well. Kudos to the back line. I think Yarrow had a great game. Hebert had an okay game as well. But Baumgartel, again, impresses me. He can move the ball. He can now play centrally, we know. Without him there, I feel like the back line could have looked a lot more exposed in terms of their passing ability. But, man, that dude is a switchblade of a defender, and he can really whip balls around. So I love watching Baumgartel.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Jake, I'm just going to bring in our favorite guy, Mr. Chat City Tactics. Some of that he just said, pretty pleased with that after responding to the game. And then he followed it up with, XG chances. St. Louis, we had 2 great. One was the offsides goal, which we'll touch on for sure. 1 good, 2 average, and 5 poor. Vancouver, they only had 1 good XG chance, 6 average, and 10 poor. He said better offense and better defense against the best league, against the league leaders with the makeshift defense. Yep, pleased. And that's well put, because I really do think that if everybody takes a step back, yeah, it's a draw. Yeah, we were at home. We could have done better. But look at this starting 11, and we just played against literally the best team in the MLS. And we held them to a draw. And I think it was a pretty impressive showing from these guys.
Agreed. Midfield was Watts, Morales, Hartel, Wallem. Again, kind of writes itself in with who's available right now. And then Teuscher, Klaus, and Pompeu leading the line just like last match. So a lot more continuity there. Justin, one of the first things I noticed in this game was, especially in the beginning, what you want to see with an attack that's growing into themselves and that's becoming a little bit more consistent is sequences, build-ups, passages of play that a team can go back to and repeat. And just because it doesn't end up in a goal doesn't mean you're done with that for that game. One of them I want to call attention to, and I've been calling this out the last couple of weeks, is Alfredo Morales. Good game. A lot of touches on the ball, a lot of passes. I think he was our pass leader in this match. But his ability to not only spot, but play that chipped ball centrally from his deeper line kind of playmaking position over the back line and onto the feet or just right in front of an on-running attacker, that's been a pretty consistent theme that I've seen us generate chances. And we saw it in preseason. I remember calling that out, and I was like, wow, he can pick that ball out. He can lift it over defenders and put it on the foot of someone. And we saw Betcher not be able to score that in a recent game. We did it. We saw it again here. I think centrally we don't find as much fortune. But Morales is giving us a little bit of a taste of that through those chipped balls. But otherwise, Justin, I think our buildup was pretty strong in this match. Again, incremental. I'm not saying we're Columbus Crew all of a sudden, but the buildup's getting better, a little more consistent. I even thought set pieces, Justin, we looked like we cared a little bit more about in this match. We care about the long throws. The corners were a little bit better from Hartel, even the free kicks. We were creating some madness on set pieces. So again, we're seeing baby steps in the right direction from an offensive perspective.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Jake. I think obviously we took a little bit of a downturn. We started off the season in a little bit of a slow offensive perspective if you take out the LA Galaxy game. But even defensively, we're starting to see these baby steps as to where we started off extremely hot, being the only team in the MLS and the 5th time ever that we didn't allow a goal in the first 4 games, to where we just kind of were falling apart for a second there. We've been waiting for the offense to start to click. And I'm going to bring Daniel's comment in here. I'm happy to talk about this a little bit more. He said, come on, guys, we've been shut out 6 of 9 games. Being happy about not winning at home is unreal. Just a poor take, in my opinion, completely honest. This is a team that's depleted right now. And also you have to realize about who we're going up against. This is literally the best team in the MLS. You want to look at the back line. What would we say, Jake? A consistent starter, not Lunt, not Yarrow, not Hebert. I would say Baumgartel is maybe one of our main starters going forward for fully healthy. So we're talking one of our back 4 guys is a key starter there. Morales likely won't be starting when you have Durkin and Leuven. Watts should not be at right back either. And Wallem should be starting. So if you want to take a look at this back 8, we're starting 2 of guys that would be playing when we're actually healthy. So I think that's a terrible take in my opinion. This is a team that is pushing right now and making baby steps with what they've got. And I'm excited to see it moving forward for the rest of the season.
I don't know if I would call it a terrible take as much as I think it's a short-term take. Like, I think if you look at the trajectory of this team, obviously we were all pretty high on the defense in the beginning, but then we realized the offense was tanking. Then we hit our trough, and I think now we're back on the uptick. And if you're not seeing it, I really encourage you to watch these games and just from where we've come. It's like picture the last 5. The last 2 specifically to me, against 2 great teams, by the way, 2 great defensive teams, by the way, we've been a lot better than we were the games before. And that's not translating to goals right now, unfortunately, but that'll come. I think bolstering your team with the pieces that are currently out, that will help certainly as well. And I think just more and more time getting comfortable, I really think it'll come. So I think for me, it's not, we're still disappointed, right? It sucks to get shut out as many times like that, especially at home, not getting points. It's going to hurt you over the long term, but we're going to have to come good at some point. We can't just consistently be good with progress. We're going to have to see it hit the results column eventually as well.
Yeah, and I will say, all right, maybe I'll walk it back. Maybe not a terrible take, but the one thing is that you can't just say like, oh, well, our forwards are healthy. There is literally 8 guys behind them that have to feed them the ball that also have to take attention away from the defenders. And if you don't have a guy like a Totland getting up and down the lines, or you don't have a guy with like Leuven that can actually ping a ball in, this is where we're starting to see that fall off. Yes, I would agree. Klaus, once he gets it on his foot, or Simon Betcher or Celio need to create something and try to finish the ball. But guess what? Their defense can sit back when they know that Akil Watts is running at them, because what's he going to do from 70 yards out? I think you have a completely different mindset when you have a Totlin on the ball there. You have Wallum running at these guys when they're doing the 1-2s with Artel and Leuven. So it's a little bit different as well. Also, and I'll bring it all the way back to Loons. We know that Loon's not as good with his feet. If you have Mr. Roman Berkey on the ball, he can ping a ball 70 yards and push through a streaking Celio. That's just not an attack that we're going to see out of Ben Loot right now either. So I think it's truly something that we need to take small steps on. And yeah, I completely agree. I would usually hate getting a draw at home because Energizer Park, one of these years I'll get used to that, is a fortress. But right now, we're doing the best with what we can, and I'm okay with a point.
I want to talk possession, Justin. There's two things, and almost like Jekyll and Hyde, I noticed in the same half is earlier in the first half, I felt like when you're playing that 3-4-3 type system, or a 3-4-2-1, whatever you want to call how we're actually deploying it, the way we were doing it is, you're putting basically both your wing backs, you're sticking up the field when you have possession. And then I think Hartel was even joining those lines sometimes. Essentially, I was looking at us trying to build up, and you got our back three, and you've got Morales as the connector and no one else. Everyone else is just waiting for that ball over the top, or for Morales to break the lines with a pass or a dribble, which he did sometimes. But we left our midfield so bare in possession that I saw us just a little bit baffled at what we could do to advance the ball, short of going long or direct. But on the inverse, I thought we looked a lot more composed in the ball. We didn't look like we were playing with a grenade at times, especially in the first half, where not trying to force anything. Baumgartel was really helping shepherd that ball, left to right, front to back. And, we get our VAR goal, I think, courtesy of some trademark possession where, we kind of waited for them to come in, bring them on. The defense is kind of almost giving them the fingers, like, come on over. Let's see if you can steal this ball from us. We baited in, we beat the press, and what happens next is Morales just pings a beautiful long ball to Celio, plays a nice through ball into Klaus. They get that cut off in a sliding challenge, which we'll show here in the video, and that falls to Wallum, who puts in the final cross for, I believe it was Hartel, or was it Toyshirt, who was back post, Justin, who actually got the finish off, but eventually was knocked off for VAR.
It was Hartel.
Yeah, Hartel. That's right.
Yeah. So Jake, sorry, I was doing a little snipping real quick, and I'm going to add this in here. But Jake, I'm gonna pull up the video, and we're going to talk through this as well.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that Jake that I was trying to put together real quick was we did reach out to George Gansner, our specialist when it comes to refereeing. And so I'm going to share the video, and we'll get a reel out here for everybody as well. So everybody that is not able to see this, that is just listening, can also kind of see what we're talking about here. And we'll work with George on this. But as I share my screen, here's where we're going to take it. So you're going to have Celio just got a nice clipped in ball from, I believe, Morales. And Celio kind of cutting in here. You can already start to see that Wallum's already about to be offside. So here's where we're going to get interesting. We hit play. Celio's dribbling right when he's about to play this ball. Look at this line right here. Mr. Wallum is offsides. However, everybody's going to be like, well, the defender makes a play right here. And this is where we get between a deliberate action on the ball and actually a deliberate play? What were the two words?
Yeah. Action and play.
Action and play. So the action is deliberate. He's going for a sliding tackle here. However, he is not looking to pass the ball to Wallum from there. So therefore, he was offsides from when the ball was played from Mr. Celio. As you see it again, as we play it through right here, when he makes that pass, he's offsides. We're already at 3 yards deep. When he makes this deliberate choice to slide, it's not a pass to him that we would ultimately decide, be like, hey, that's someone that pushed him through. And the one that we'll be able to push this on, Jake, on the reel, is everybody remembers that goal that Stroud scored in our first ever game at Austin. Kip Keller, sorry, Kip, to call you out here, when he did a turnaround and he passed it directly to Jared Stroud. Jared Stroud was obviously very offsides in that position. However, since it was a deliberate play to play that ball to him, and it was a pass, not like a sliding flick or deflection, therefore Stroud was onside. So that is a heavy difference that we're seeing in here. And I'm going to bring it up real quick now, Jake, to even kind of clarify this as much as I can. This is the text that we received from Mr. George Gansner when we asked him, could you please explain what we are talking about with this? He said, reaching for and deflecting a ball is not considered a deliberate action. Has to be a deliberate kick or head attempt. This is neither. I don't like this interpretation, but it's the current interpretation and was accurately applied. Happy Easter. Thank you, George. You're the absolute man.
So reading that text, Justin, I think reading it back, when he mentions deliberate action, I think he means deliberate play, because what the referee body came out and said was, yes, this is a deliberate action, but it's not, that doesn't make it a deliberate play. And if it's not a deliberate play, then we can't negate the offsides. So basically my takes, I did some research, and then bummer we couldn't get George to do this live for you all, because we're doing our best George impressions and putting on our George hats. The signal was out, trust me, team. So we did some research of our own. I mean, from what I can glean, the law is shady at best. I think it probably was implemented correctly in this context, but that doesn't mean that it's right. I think, FIFA, IFAB need to go back and look at this, because it's deliberately almost confusing. I'll add another deliberate in there, Justin. But the merging of deliberate action and deliberate play, to me, doesn't usually happen, because deliberate action is more about handballs. If you go and look in the rule book, they use the word deliberate action. Deliberate play is used more from an offsides context and perspective. So you're leaving a lot up to terminology and definitions. And I think the whole thing sucks, honestly, because as a body, as someone that wants to see soccer grow in the US and MLS as a whole, that's got to be a goal. Who wants to see that called back? Like, to me, you're going a little bit too far. We've overcorrected in some places like this, where people show up, they pay the hefty ticket prices, they pay the administrative fees to see goals, to see entertainment. And you're going to tell me that we're going to create this rule where deliberate action doesn't necessarily equal deliberate play, and we're going to strike that one off the board? Like, that's not the purpose of these rules. I can tell you that. It needs to be reviewed. It sucked in the moment. It sucks now, because that would have meant a whole lot to Energizer Park and this fan base to put one past Vancouver at that point in the game.
Yeah, I think that, it completely changed the game. I think this is one where when the place was absolutely erupting and we're like, wait, how are they calling this back? How is the offsides? Of course, this is going to happen to us again. It's just tough with the rule because it was applied accurately. I just think it needs to change. This is one of those judgmental, very gray area situations, which I like to equate to when you look at like the NFL. Did he make a football move? What the hell is a football move? Like, now they're like trying to be like, oh, did he make like 2 steps when he caught it? Like, I get that one wrong every time, because the dude definitely caught it, tucked it, but he didn't take like 2 full steps. That's where this deliberate action, deliberate play kind of comes to mind for me. It's like confusing. Like, can we just, and I understand sports are not going to be black and white, but the way that's worded is poor, and I think it's really starting to show, and would love to see the MLS make a change on that.
I would tend to agree, Justin. Another feature I saw in this match outside of some possession was the counter press. The boys were back on the counter press with a vengeance, I would say, really trying to disrupt Vancouver in their buildup when we coughed the ball up. We didn't give it up and get back into our shape and numbers. We threw numbers at winning that ball back, and frankly, it worked a good amount of times. And we really, I think, made it hard for Vancouver to advance. And that's what you want to do to a team that's known to possess and known to kind of poke and prod their way through games. I saw a lot of good instances of Morales winning some balls, some good second ball chances as well. Some things that we were harping on during the last couple of matches, not being a focal point, seem to be coming around to them here. And so you're hearing more of it from us, right? Like, the picture's getting painted on this podcast where we believe that there is attention to detail. There is a want or desire to learn from mistakes and continually try to gradually improve over time. You know what? You can improve when you just get a bad ref. And I'm not the one that's going to say like, oh, the horrible calls, the atrocities. I'm not even going to say the VAR thing. But when you get, I would call a bad ref a ref that wants to make it about him or her. And this guy was out to do that. Main character energy out the ass, constantly calling every little thing. And it was on both sides. It wasn't just like an anti-city ref. Soft yellows. There was a phantom elbow that was called on Klaus. And when you get a ref like that wants to be the center of attention, you take, obviously, the eyes off of the product, off of the prize that we all came for, and the flow just gets sucked out of the entire game. Justin, I wasn't there, but I know you were, but I'm sure there was some pent-up frustration with the fan base constantly hearing the whistle get blown.
No, there definitely was, Jake. And I think it's one where I'm a big fan of, and sorry to use the word fan, but the refs are there to facilitate the game. You shouldn't even know they're technically there. And I think George would agree with this, that these guys are truly just to make sure the flow of the game progresses and that the fouls are called where needed. And it seems like when they try to step in a little bit too much, like I know that one guy went viral that one time when he did the VAR for us. He goes, he was offsides.
Yeah.
However, it's like, all right, come on,
Yeah.
man. Like, I mean, that was a cool little video for you. I'm glad you got your claim to fame. But like, this is not the time period to be showing off. And I really do wish that it would kind of be tempered down a little bit in these games.
Yeah, no, I would agree. You got to have a ref that just wants to be a part of the game in a very behind the scenes type of way. Like that's what you want. Someone that just gets the game into a flow and refs very honestly and consistently through it. Like that's all we're asking for. And I don't believe that's what we really got in this match. So unfortunate. Again, I don't think it really necessarily swings the result in the end, but it's just not fun. Like who wants to have that? I have honestly, Justin, I'm a little bit perplexed on this one because I want to talk about some players. Akil Watts. What an, I think I'm going to go for this word, enigmatic performance. You know, he was an enigma to me. Like you could not understand or fathom what you were getting from him on the pitch because the first half was nothing short of atrocious. Like such poor 1v1 defending, offering very, very little moving forward. And then I almost feel like he drank some of Michael's special stuff at halftime. And in second half, he was a new man. He was good on the ball, very hard to get knocked off, maintaining possession, dribbling out of pressure. His service from the right flank was mouth-watering. I mean, you would have wished another attacker there to get up and rise and meet some of those balls. I mean, it was great service. And so I don't know which one I'm seeing that I actually want to believe in because like the first half, Akil was the one that I frankly have been harping on recently of saying that I don't want to see him at right wing back anymore. It's just not worth it. But then the second half, I'm like, wait, is this what we're seeing or what Olaf is seeing in training that's making him go back to him time and time again? Because if that's the version, I think we have a now serviceable backup right wing back to Toland.
I would agree with that, Jake. However, that was just a 45-minute stint. Yeah. I've seen just too much throughout this season, and I saw it way too much in the first half to where I think I was almost turned off because I was frustrating myself sitting so close and just watching him. So one person that I would like to give a shout out to, I mean, Jack even put it in here, says, please talk about Ocampo. Talk about a right back, Jake, dude. This guy, just looking at his stats, I know he played incredible, but I mean, he had an XG plus an XA of 0.64 in a game that had 0 goals. He had 60 touches in the game as well, which definitely led the entire field. And this was a guy, he had 5 of 6 ground duels won and 1 of 2 aerial duels won as well. So this guy just played out of his absolute mind. Imagine if we had him instead of Akil Watts.
So I love that you took it there, Justin, because that's not why he wanted you to talk about Ocampo. That was the same guy that was flopping the entire night.
Also true. Yeah.
Got his major in breakdancing. I mean, the dude was on his head for one of those flops that he did, like literally his whole body weight on his head. I took a picture, put it out there. He was looking like Ray Gun from the Olympics. We got some love on that because people were like, who is this guy? Like, obviously he's also a good player, but he was looking for it. And the City fans were looking for him because he was every touch after a couple of those incidents, he was getting booed on as he should, like getting the good treatment.
Sorry, I absolutely forgot that was the main reason. I just pulled up the tweet because I was laughing my butt off that night too. I mean, you can see the video over here. Like, what is this dude doing? Dude, I think I saw the South End supporter guys like made the Ray Gun girl their like background or their thumbnail for this episode as well. Like, everybody was laughing at this. Like, what is going on over here, brother?
Yeah, brutal.
He did have a hell of a game when it comes to when he actually was on his feet.
It's good to have a good game when you're going to be that flamboyant.
Right.
I guess you kind of have to be. Some players aren't. But something I was frustrated by, Justin, as we get to the tail end of this recap here, is the second half start was abysmal from this team. I mean, going into the locker room, you would have thought, by the way they came out in the second half, like they had the 3 points in the bag. It was all wrapped up and done. But by and large, we got outplayed all of the second half. Maybe getting up into the very end when we got some late life into the team with some good build-up play through Klaus, Watts getting some good service. Betcher and Joyner trying to create some havoc and cause some chaos. Wallum even had some good brilliance there. But the second half was not up to standard. And then when you're a team that's chasing 3 points at home, when you've been shut out 6 of the last 9, you got to be going for it, going for the jugular. And I get that we're a little bit low on some quality substitutes to bring on at this point, given the injury crisis, but you got to see that desire. Wasn't seeing it enough. And I frankly, I just don't know what the point was in the early part of the second half, because it just didn't really feel like we had enough urgency, that we were trying to come out and change the results. At least until the very, very end, where I did see a little more life to the team. But you can't have that, especially at home. Like, you cannot have that.
We've talked about
Game, it was here to be won, Justin. Like, that's my problem. Is it was there. Like, you could have gotten that.
We've talked about that. I think this team somehow continues to fall off. Like, we've just used to see us fall off in the last 10 minutes of games. Now we're falling off like right before half and right into the second half, which is almost worse in my opinion. Like, it's more gut wrenching when it happens at the end, but it takes the air out of the game and the energy. I really thought with Mackay Joyner and Simon Bedger coming in, 72nd minute, I thought they were going to be a super sub. I thought we were going to get a little bit more life. We saw a little bit there, but not as much as I was hoping. But then again, only 2 guys. And then I was like, I actually watched Olaf the rest. I'm like, is this guy even going to look at our subs? But then looking at what he was looking at, you have Jake Gerwood-Wright, Horn, Zielinski, Wenzel, Totland, or Ostrak. It's like, if you're looking to score a goal here, you put on Ostrak maybe. But at that point, like, we're not going to sit back and throw another defender in there. So at first I was extremely upset. I'm like, is this guy even care to make another sub? Or he like come into the second half like, I'm making a sub with these 2, Joyner and Betcher, 72nd, we're done. But now I kind of understand why. We are slim pickings.
Yeah, and I don't think you were getting your best either out of Hartel that match. I think it was one of his more off matches that I've seen from him. Just wasn't really effective on the ball, especially in the second half. He just looked off the pace. Maybe he's tired, maybe a little bit leggy from these matches. But I got a news flash for you, buddy. They're coming hot and heavy these next couple of weeks. So I'm hoping those legs get underneath him again. I do want to give my heart and soul to the game or the match, Justin, to Ben Loon. It wasn't this game where he was getting pinged, left, right, and center with these good shots, great opportunities. We really did a good job not conceding too much to Vancouver. But sometimes those are the hardest games for goalies. You got to be alive. You got to be courageous. You got to be ready to jump at a moment's notice. And man, that dude was fearless on some crosses, took some blows, some big collisions, pops back up, keeps going, shakes it off. He made the saves that he had to. Nothing, groundbreaking out there, but a notably safe, solid game from him. He was 24 of 29 passing, 11 of 16 on long balls, and he's doing his best Roman Berkey impression. You love to see it. Again, I'm so happy for him. This stint has been nothing but positive if I'm Ben Lunt and I'm looking at this decision as the City, backroom staff. I think we've got a great, solid backup goalkeeper.
I would agree, Jake. I think this is one it's been tough because, I mean, we obviously, and you don't really know what you have until it's gone. And I think we've seen that with Berkey. And I think Lund has done a good job of keeping balls out of the net. I mean, look at it. He has 6 goals against in 6 games. You tell me that throughout the entire season, that's incredible. It's going to win you the best defense in the league. And obviously Berkey through 3 games, he did not have any goals allowed, but Ben Lund's making the saves that he is. I think and I would agree. He's for sure my heart and soul player of the game. However, I'm just going to say just on this point, I'm going to say it and say it again, that I think the leadership and also the directing of traffic and the positioning of guys and getting in guys' face when you need to, picking them up when they're down, I think that's something that is just not going to ever see the stat sheet from Mr. Roman Berkey. And I think it's showing. I think that if you look at it after the first 3 games, we did 1 more clean sheet. We started to go a little bit downhill after that, and I would really love to see him back soon.
Agreed. Moving on, Justin, into the second half of the show here. And let's talk about our friends at Hoffman Brothers, our presenting sponsor of 2025. Guys, we have got, I think, both feet now solidly implanted into spring. I can safely say we are putting winter behind us, but you might want to check out that furnace. Make sure she's still functioning correctly, because as soon as you look the other way, winter will be back again. It'll be back into the 30s, the 40s, and whatnot. But make sure you give Hoffman Brothers a call if you have any worries, concerns about your furnace and what it's been through this year. I know the winter wasn't awful, but maybe you've got a system that's been live for decades now. Maybe you inherited a house that's old and you just haven't done enough to it. Just if you want to get a quick tune-up, another set of opinions, a quick set of eyes from people that know what they're doing, give Hoffman Brothers a call. Not just furnaces, it's HVAC. We talked about air quality last week with duct cleaning, air scrubbers. We talk about generators. They do everything under the roof. When you think about home management, home maintenance, Hoffman Brothers does it. They're a great partner, and we encourage you to take advantage of this. I mean, they're I swear to God, Justin, my whole freaking neighborhood is on a protection plan right now, because there was 4 trucks here on one day last week. I was one of them getting my tune-up, which I'll tell you all about in another episode here. But they're everywhere, so make sure you give them a call.
Dude, if everybody's concerned about their allergies, imagine that now. Now think about your body system and think about that as your home and how hard you're working and like, oh, you're getting sick, you can do a little emergency, a little Dayquil. What is your home doing? You're just leaving it neglected. So if you haven't already, call Hoffman Brothers at 314-664-3011 or go to hoffmanbros.com.
LAFC, Justin, it's on the mind. It's coming up here on Sunday. Remember, we have another Sunday match. I believe this is Sunday Night Soccer, right? It's a 6 p.m. Central, meaning a 4:30. So maybe not. No, maybe it is Sunday Night Soccer. It's just early for LA, obviously, with their time change. But yeah. LAFC specifically, has been a bogey team. They have been a thorn in our side since our existence, with in 2023, a 0-3 loss away from home, followed up by a 0-0 draw, our only time we took points off them at home. 2024, 0-2 loss at home, 0-1 away. We are yet to score a goal against LAFC. And like I said, 1 point over 4 matches. Maybe this is the year.
Yeah, Jake, I just jump right to it. So maybe they're doing a doubleheader because after us is LA Galaxy at the Timbers, but also looking at the lines, LA Galaxy is minus 190. We're plus 425. And I'm going to have a hard time staying away off that line, but god dang, it could be a slaughter. What did LAFC do in 2024 and where are they at in 2025? 2024, 64 points. They stole the number 1 seed from the LA Galaxy on decision day, lost in the Western Conference semis to Seattle in extra time on a 109th minute Jordan Morris goal. 2025, what have they been doing so far this season? Not as hot as you would typically expect. However, they're staying just fine afloat. Current standing 7th in the Western Conference on 12 points, 4-4-0 on a win-loss draw, 13 goals for, 14 against with a goal differential of -1. So a little bit lower than what you'd expect. However, very similar to what we just talked about with Vancouver. They've been playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So also very similar to Vancouver. I don't know what's going on in this tournament, Jake. I still haven't watched the game yet, but in the first round, they tied Columbus 2-2, but they moved on with away goals. Second round, they beat that was Colorado. Second round, they beat Columbus 4-2, and then they lost to Miami 3-2 in the quarterfinals. So it's a team that, again, they're 500 in league play. They're scoring a bunch of goals, but they've also played 6 more games than us. And I'm hoping, knock on wood, Jake, that's going to hurt these teams in the long run when you look down later in the season. But you'd think that this is the time where you need to start pouncing on these teams where they're playing on short rests.
Yeah. Fully agree. And we're going to be one of those teams here shortly with the U.S. Open Cup beginning as well. But like this record, Justin, should be what Vancouver's record was too, right? Because they've been playing just as many games, right, but somehow they're annihilating it on both ends, which is rare, especially in MLS, because those teams that compete in this tournament early on in the season, like Seattle, I believe last season, they start off notoriously slow in league play while they focus their attention on these cup competitions, and they kind of come back later on. LAFC, I think, is kind of going through that right now, because they'll be back. They're inevitable, and they've got game changers all over the pitch. But for them, regular season-wise, they have a big win already against Minnesota, which is a huge win. It's Minnesota's only loss this season. They're number 3 in the West right now. They had a big loss against Seattle, probably coming down to what I just described a couple seconds ago. They had a loss as well against Austin, who's cooking away in the Western Conference now that we see, and a 3-3 draw against Portland last weekend. So it's a mixed bag, at that 4-4 record. So we'll see. They have that draw now underneath the belt, but I think this is a team that's in a vulnerable spot given some of those competitions they've been competing in, and I think you're playing them at an opportune time, at least the away leg. We'll see what happens on the home leg, but LAFC is a classic type team. Again, they came into the league and they knew who they were, and they were pretty meaningful and dangerous from day one, with a 4-3-3 formation, typically with the ball flexing into more of like a 5-2-2-1. So tactical approach for them, you guys know it. We've experienced it. We've been hurt by it. These quick transitions, these quick counterattacks, they've got such good winger options in Denny Bouanga and Under as well, who they just acquired this offseason. And so they'll oftentimes have actually a good bit of the ball, but that direct play, those quick transitions, they are lethal on. They absolutely print money. Backline-wise, they've got some good experienced defenders like Ryan Hollingshead, who contributes on both sides of the pitch for them. So a pretty decent team from a backline perspective. But goalkeeping, I'm not buying it, man. I know Lloris is a big name. He's a World Cup winner, came from Tottenham. I don't think he's anything to fear between the sticks, in my opinion.
Jake, I'm just going to jump down to it. I was looking up his facts as well, and I was like, dang, I really want to give up some hype on Lower East, and I was going to look back at some of our old docs, but I'm going to scroll all the way down. 65% save rate this season is the 4th worst in the MLS for keepers that have played at least 6 games this season.
Yeah.
That's me doing numbers. When I was doing that, though, quick shout-out to Charlotte's goalkeeper, Christian Kalalina, 6'2", 32-year-old Croatian, has 84% save rate, allowing only 7 goals and 44 shots. So massive comparison there between those two. But Jake, this is one that I really want to talk about on this team. I was like, wow, why are we seeing such a difference in LAFC? Like, there's usually a fast pace. They're scoring 20 goals, giving up 10. What's going on? Key departures. Kai Kamara. They declined his option. He had 3 goals and 6 assists in 2024. He's without a club right now, just FYI. I feel like that's a floater. That could be one of those guys that, like, think about the NBA. You want to pick up like a 7th man going into the last stretch of the season. Keep an eye out for him. Ilie Sanchez, midfielder. He was out of contract. He has 1 goal and 3 assists in 2024 now with Austin. And then also they sold 3 dudes. Listen to the dollar values on this, Jake. Christian Oliveira, they sold him to Guillermo Gremio for $4.3 million. He had 6 goals and 1 assist in 2024. Mateus Bogus, they sold him to Cruz Azul for $8.5 million. He had 15 goals and 7 assists last year. And then Omar Campos sold for $3.8 million to Cruz Azul as well. So all in total between those guys, what is that? That's like $16 million that they made on 3 outgoing guys.
Yeah, and you know where that's going? It went to some of the incomings. I think they're making a little piggy bank fund for Griezmann as well when he wants to finally call it quits with Atletico. Or wait, no, is he Atletico? Or I know he was on Barcelona. Yeah, he's Atletico. He's back at Atletico. Incomings. Already mentioned it. Cengiz Under. This guy you might have seen if you all watch, Serie A or Premier League for some times, or even Liga 1 in France. He's played in all 3 of those leagues. 66 goals, 46 assists in 343 professional matches across those 3 leagues, playing for Roma, Leicester, and Marseille. Before he moved to Fenerbahce for reportedly over 15 mil. Now at LAFC, plays for Turkey's national team as well. They also picked up Ibobise, probably to fill in the minutes from Kai Kamara leaving. Free agent signing, a good big man up top. I think a different profile to Giroud, who they signed obviously in the middle of last season. Didn't make the impact and still hasn't made the impact I think they were hoping from him. They brought in a big defensive midfielder, sort of bulldozer, and Igor Jesus. $4 million transfer from the Portuguese First League Estrela de Amadora. And he's a U22, very, very solid young player on the up and up. And they actually made a trade cross town from the Galaxy by acquiring Marky Delgado to take up a helming position in the central midfield as well. So they made some serious business. I don't think they're done for the year. Like when I think about the season for them, I think Griezmann will be joining LAFC at some point here with their French contingent they've built there. But they've got some serious guys that, have been there also for at least a year now.
Yeah. So speaking of which, is Denny Bouanga, and I like to call him Dennis when we talk about these previews to give him a little bit of disrespect. Jake, you will probably know this, so I'm not going to bet any beers on it, but what national team does he play for?
Is he Ivory Coast?
No, but it's down there.
Gabon.
Yeah, Gabon.
I knew that because he played with Aubameyang. I know Aubameyang plays there. Yeah.
Mr. Dennis Bouanga. He's a Golden Boot winner in 2023 with 20 goals and 5 assists. And then last year he came in second in the Golden Boot race with 20 goals again, but he had 11 assists. So looking to dish it off a little bit more last year. 2025, slow start for his standards. Just 2 goals and 2 assists. But, dude, his pace always gives our Scandinavian back line some trouble. Our white boys cannot keep up, and it's been tough for us. Olivier Giroud, 38-year-old, obviously left-footed Frenchman, massive dude, 6'4", 200 pounds. 2024, like you said, slow start for him. 0 goals, 1 assist in 6 full 90s. 2025, still a pretty slow start as well. He has 1 goal, which is actually in his last game, last weekend versus Timbers. 0 assists. It does seem, though, Jake, when I was trying to do a little bit more research, like, what is going on with this guy? It does seem now that they're shifting his focus a little bit more to the MLS regular season. After the Colorado and the CONCACAF championship matches, he's played 2 of the last 4, or he only played 2 of the last 4 games in the CCC for 11 minutes total, but he started the last 4 games for LAFC in the regular season. So it seems like he's coming back around. And also last year, I will say, even though he had a little bit of a down year in the regular season, he did score in the Open Cup final and the League's Cup final. And that's what they brought that big man here for. And we already talked about Hugo Lloris. He's just an absolute shell of himself and just not doing a whole lot in the back. And then lastly, a little fun one here, Jake. David Martinez, 19-year-old right winger. He leads the team in goals already this season with 3 in just 397 minutes. And he's only started 4 of the 8 games played. So this is a guy that's been a massive goal contribution for him. And he's only 19 years old.
Yeah, it's impressive, man. It's impressive. Yeah, I mean, definitely a team that's stacked, at least on paper, in terms of talent. I think, like you said, they're underperforming is probably the theme so far this year for them, given expectations, right? I feel like they're a perennial contender at this point. You always expect them to kind of see them in and around the Final Four-ish. And I expect them to definitely pick up the pace here, hopefully not starting with this match. But Justin, do we want to roll into our 11? Who has it this time? Do you want me to roll into this time?
You got it. You got it this time. The last one was funny, though.
It was. So presenting our predicted Hoffman Brothers starting 11.
This used to be like my most favorite segment of it. And now it's just like kind of sad with the amount of injuries and dudes we have out.
Well, let's try to have some fun with it here, Justin.
All right.
I'll challenge us.
Celio and Net.
I'll challenge us. Let's do this 11, like the practical 11, and then let's build our 11 for when everyone's healthy. Let's give people some fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start from the back. I think this is, we're pretty much set on this, I would say, at this point. Hopefully now that Horn's healthy, but we're Luton goal. Berkey's still not ready. Seems like he was back into practice a little bit today, but not fully playing. I'd probably say hopefully next weekend, more than likely 2 more weeks out from what we're seeing. And then from left to right in the back, we're going to go with Horn, Baumgartel, and Yarrow. So taking out Mr. Kyle Hebert in that point. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm crossing my fingers. Horn is back, good to go. I think the moment he is, we've got to roll with that. Otherwise, I think you have to literally go back to Hebert, Baumgartel, and Yarrow again from the last match. Not that it's the end of the world, but I would love to see Horn come back because just the ability to know that he's on the ball and he can spray those passes left. He's so comfortable with it at his feet. I want to see him there. I really want to see that. So I'm manifesting it. I really hope he returns to the 11 this time around. Middle midfield or just the midfield overall. I'm going back to Wallum at left wing back, Hartel, Morales in the central, and then Watts back out. And you might be asking me like, well, now I'm going against myself on Watts. I would say Tolan, but I think, again, they're going to be really cautious with him. They cannot afford to lose him again into another stretch like that. So knowing that he didn't get any minutes under his belt and they're still kind of tweaking with some things with him, he's still feeling something, there is no chance they're throwing him into the 11 to start. Bummer for Zielinski. Guy gets signed to a pick, and they're going to play everyone and their mother ahead of playing Joey Zielinski. I wouldn't be opposed to that either, but I do think Watts will get the nod there. Yeah,
I just still don't think that if we're going to play Zielinski, I don't think it's going to be in a starting position, especially when you're going away to LAFC. So yeah, I think I wouldn't actually mind Watts in this one just solely because I could see if we throw a Kyle Hebert in that position, that's got Dennis Bouanga just drooling. When you think about trying to keep up with him. So I really do like Yarrow behind Watts and try to almost outduel him there. If you're going to get past Watts and his sturdiness, then you got to take on Yarrow's speed. So no big, long touch. If Watts can knock Dennis kind of out of bounds like that Bale play from like 2014, and then you just got to get Yarrow to beat him in a foot race. So I like that as well. Going up top as well, then Celio with toy shirt and a Klaus up top for a little diamond or a little triangle there. I think that's where we're going to land. I wouldn't be opposed, honestly, though, Jake. Yeah, Toysher just hasn't been doing it for me this year. What are your thoughts on a little Celio and Betcher underneath of Mr. Klaus?
I'm fine with whatever puts goals in the back of the net, man. I think Betcher's impact off the bench is far greater than Toyshirt's ever will be. So I think it's good to have an option like that. That's really like you like to say like a what do you say like a spring? You compare Celio, the Energizer Bunny, or like a bunny. Yeah, I mean,
human fidget spinner.
Yeah, I mean, just all the synonyms you can drop them in there. But having his energy off the bench versus Toy Shirt, who I think is more of like your finisher, it's just not going to have that much impact if it's him versus Betcher. So I still think we'll roll with Toy Shirt, and I think people will get off his back the moment he starts putting stuff in the back of the net. And again, the chances it should come. That's what he's known to do. All right, pivot to the 11. If everyone is healthy, I'm going to look through this right now, and I'm going to tell you who I think stays. So obviously Berkey in for Lund. I think Horn is your starting left center back with everyone healthy. So he's going to stay. I think Baumgartel should hopefully be your starting center back if everyone's healthy, either him or Nilsson. And then I think on your right center back, I'd put Kessler out on the right. I think that's where they initially wanted to play him, but just due to injuries, they had to stick him centrally. So I think either combination, Horn, Baumgartel, or Nilsson and Kessler have to be your back three.
I would say if he's healthy, it's Nilsson. So I'd go Horn and then
Okay.
Nilsson or Kessler. It depends. I mean, we're just talking
Fair
about
enough.
slow, skinny white guys at that point. So it's kind of tough. But also going back to, and then in front of them, Wallum. Wallum is for sure just a lock. Lock at left back. Then you get into the middle. I would like to push Hartel up. Morales and Watts are not going to be consistent starters, in my opinion. I would much rather, obviously, Leuven. And I really do think that Durkin can play that position there, and I would like to see him there more. So I would go Wallum with Leuven, then Durkin, then Totland. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think that I like that. I can get behind that. It gets hard because I don't think you want to have Hartel so deep, going forward, especially when Leuven comes back, because like they're kind of stepping on each other's toes, and I think that's why he's there right now to fill in with Leuven. So if you return Durkin and Leuven to the midfield, where do you put Hartel, and how do you balance your attack? Do you go to a 3-4-3 where you have the four that you already just mentioned? So Wallum, Leuven, Durkin, Totland, and then ahead of them, Klaus centrally. Maybe do you bring Hartel back to the left wing and have him kind of come in centrally like he wants to? Because Wallum's stretching the field, the whole left flank. He'll take that space. And then do you throw at right wing? Would that be like a Betcher or a Teuscher who also come centrally while Totland runs the flanks? You have options. You could also maybe fit Betcher out there. You could have Alm if he ever comes back. You could have him go out there. You could have Celio even get some minutes out there and cut in on his left. There's plenty of options, but I think the genesis is that when you do this exercise, you realize how lacking we are right now. And by the way, lacking even those guys to even come off the bench. Like they're just not available, period.
Jake, I'm gonna switch it completely up, and we'll have to put some graphics out for this. But I'm actually gonna go with a back four again. I'm gonna go back to it. So I'm gonna go Horn on left back, and then I'm gonna go with a Kessler Nilsson in the middle with a Totland at right back, and then I'm gonna put Wallum in front of them. So I'm gonna do a 4-4-2, and then I'm gonna go with Leuven and Durkin, and then you go on the far right. I'd probably go with a Celio, and then go up top with like a Klaus Teuscher or something like that. I just really. The one thing, and maybe I know I kind of butchered that in the end. I'm trying to think it all through my mind, but I'd really like to see what we had at the end of last year in those last 6 games, because I think that Hartel, Teuscher, Betcher, and Klaus, those guys can just have a connection. And I know that we're missing Klaus for a little bit of that, but Hartel and Teuscher, those guys just kind of have it up here. I think it's a little bit of chemistry from back in the U20s or whatever they were doing over in Germany, U16s, and then you just throw in a finisher like with Simon. However, I think with Simon, I think you can have that same finishing position if you want to spark with Celio, or you want a big man with Klaus, or you see someone that just finishes on their first touch with Simon. That would kind of depend on the defense that we're playing against. But I really would like to see Hartel and Teuscher start to make that connection again.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're yet to see, the Hartel of last year, where he's constantly in the assist column and generating lots of chances for us. He's still doing his best, I think, given the circumstances, but you haven't seen that same level of production, I think, because of the lack of goal output in front of him. But I'm good, man. I mean, it makes me happy to talk about these possibilities, because I hope we're not too far from them. At the very least, it gives Olaf real legitimate options to turn around and say, hey, crap, this game is not going the way I want it to go. Let's see which one of the toys I want to bring out onto the field for this one. You know what I mean? And right now, there's no one really. Exactly. I mean, you're counting on Joyner, which, and he's exciting, but it's just Betcher and Joyner at this point that can bring an offensive spark. And that's a shame compared to all the injuries we have right now. But we'll cross that bridge eventually. I'm confident. Justin, goals for the match, prediction time. I want to say my goal, it's not something you'll be able to quantify at all, but I'll be able to tell you if we did it or not after the match. Probably the scoreline will result in this one being accomplished. But LAFC is a team that likes to play quick. They like to play with speed. They like to play very direct, and they have guys that can do that, and guys that are just downright fast. And For that, I think you have to do a good job controlling LAFC's tempo. When you lose the ball, you're quick to the counter press. You block out that counterattack. You block out that quick transition. Or if you don't, you've got guys back in numbers because Denny Bouanga is taking it down the flank and he's trying to cut inside and curl one in. Like, that. You've seen it on every highlight reel time and time again. You know what to expect. Slow them down. Take some sting out of the game. And if you can do that, I think you give yourself a good chance to take one of their best and most lethal weapons.
I mean, I think you kind of just wrapped yours. I completely agree with the tempo. My specific goals, no goals for Denny Bouanga. This is a guy that's been absolutely just tearing us apart. And I would love to add no goals or assists, but I don't think that's possible with this guy. I think he draws too much attention. But if we can shut him down, make somebody else beat us in this team, I'm going to be okay with it, because I think it's going to be a tough one for us. We're already talking about, we're kind of limping into this. Yeah, we're getting a full week's rest. But it's still going to LA. Place can, depending on what kind of atmosphere it's got, it's going to be a midday Sunday. So for them, because it's a 4:30 start up there. Yeah. So it might not be as toxic of an atmosphere that we're going into, but I would just like to see him slow down completely. Jake, I know I'm pretty sure Mr. Sennett put out a tweet out there that he loves continuing to guess that we're not scoring any goals. I'm going to just continue to guess that we're scoring 2 goals. I'm going with the 2-2 draw here. What are your thoughts?
I love it. Yeah, I'm on board. I'm with you on the 2. I'm absolutely. My prediction is 2-1 W, and I'm gonna sprinkle on the money line this week. I think you're hitting them at a good time, like I said before. And this team's got nothing to lose right now. We were missing everyone and their mother, but we're also getting a little more positive game to game. At some point, I do feel like we're due for like a click game where it just kind of comes together, the right chemistry, the right makeup, a lot of different components, and we just have a coming out sort of match. Whether that's sustainable or not, we'll see. But I think a win is definitely a possibility for this team, and I think it's just up to the guys to seize those moments. Justin, actually want to say a diversion quickly from soccer to hockey for 1 second about the Blues. Obviously, we're watching bummer down 2-0 right now. Coming back to St. Louis, we still have faith in the boys. But Jim Montgomery last night was asked, their head coach was asked, what the difference is between the two teams and what's going on right now. And he's like, they're making one more play than we are in every game right now. And it's, the shots, they're even, this is even, hits are even, whatever. They're making one more play. And they're having that extra bit of quality. They're taking that extra chance. They're making us pay. And I think we're getting there too. Like, we've just played 2 of the top teams in the league so tightly. We belonged on the pitch with them. If we can get that chemistry, get the chances generated, get the finishing on board for this match, and just make that one more play than them, I really think that's the margins right now. And if we can just execute in those fine margins, I think we can show a lot of points for it.
I agree with that, Jake. And I mean, that's something that we're definitely seeing with the Blues. And I would just like to see a little bit more. I think we saw a glimpse of this last weekend out of this team. We're starting to see a little bit more fight. Something that we kind of were complaining about in the Kansas City game. We kind of looked like we just rolled over. We're starting to see a little bit more energy out of these guys and just kind of across the field. And I'm hoping it's a little bit of a chemistry aspect as well, knowing like, hey, just because we're out so many guys doesn't mean that we can't still play soccer and we still can't compete with these guys. I want to see a little bit more of that again on Sunday as we're starting to get some starters back. And let's continue to roll this into it. We were talking about it earlier tonight, Jake. It's like, all right, yeah, we're in a tough stretch right now. Then we got to go to Seattle. Fine. The season ends in late October. I keep saying this. I should just look up when the last game is. I think it might be late September. But this is one of those things where it's again, mid-April. The sky isn't falling. Our last game is legitimately October 18th at home versus Real Salt Lake. So that's something that I think we just need to focus on and make sure that we're looking at this longevity-wise, and we're not trying to rush guys back into this. Yeah, we keep getting knocks here and there. However, we have the players. That's what we do. We're going to try to fill gaps where we can, and I'm excited to have these guys rolling.
We're going to learn a lot about this team, Justin. I love it, in the next basically 2 weeks, right? Because we have LAFC on Sunday. The following Saturday begins a trek of matches for us with Seattle also away. Then we're back home 3 days later against Union Omaha on May 7th. 3 days after that, we're still at home against San Diego in that return leg. 3 days after that, or 4 days after that, we're still at home in the return leg for Sporting Kansas City. And then 4 days after that, we are away in Minnesota. I mean, that's a lot of matches coming hot and heavy with some good opponents. And you got the Open Cup sprinkled in there. So I think we're going to learn a lot about what this team is and if they're really learning from their mistakes and continuing to hone and improve over these next couple of weeks. So I'm excited. Personally, I'm really excited. We're going to learn. We're going to see who's stepping up, who's maybe going to claim more of a big role when these big names do come back into the team. So there's going to be a lot to be optimistic about. So I'm in for it, man. I'm just super pumped.
Everybody needs to be excited. We still have 9 points. Yeah, we could be LAFC. You could have 3 points right now through 9 games played. So we have 9 points. Yeah, we're just hovering over Kansas City and Houston, who also have 7 points, and just below Real Salt Lake. But I mean, Jake, if you want to look at it, we're 3 points out of a playoff spot right now. Yeah. So everybody, again, long season, a lot of injuries right now. I'm excited to see where these boys are going. And big shout out to you, Jake, again, for these Blues. Get to the game on Thursday night, and if you can't, because it's 8:30 p.m., try to enjoy it somewhere in St. Louis. If you're not going to do it, enjoy it from your couch. This is an exciting time. Playoff hockey. Go support those guys, because you know they're going to come right back around and support us when it's our time.
Agreed, man. Agreed. We'll be live with another entry for this week. We're still yet to get on the end of one. Jordan Bennington, of course, didn't come through for us in this last one, but I swear we're going to hit at some point. Hope you are enjoying Underdog. It's a fun app, a fun place to play games and fantasy games that show your skill, show that you know what you're talking about when it comes to sports. City matches are on there, Blues games are on there, Cardinals games are on there, darts are on there, esports are on there, every sport under the sun. Some of them you can't really even call them sports, but they're there on Underdog. So pick your favorite players, pick your favorite projections, and higher or lower is the name of the game. It's that simple.
Sign up with code Ball Watching. You can make your first deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And yes, that is bonus cash. That is free money to you when you sign up using code Ball Watching. So get out there, tail us on our entries. It's been a lot of fun playing with these guys, and I'm excited to see what we can do this weekend.
Yeah, I am too, Justin. Well, we'll be back with you all next week for another full show. We'll probably have to change a little bit what we're doing here, Justin, as we get into all these different fixtures coming up here. But as we head into that festive season of all these different matches, make sure that if you like what you're listening to, that you're liking the show on YouTube, you're subscribing on YouTube, you're following and subscribing it on Apple or Spotify. Anything you can do to show that you're a true fan, that you love the pod, you love Jake and Justin, and obviously feedback, always welcome on the show. We have taken some notable ones recently on the graphic. With the starting 11, promise you we'll get that sorted out here soon. On the agenda, on the books, we're listening. We'll fix it next week for you all. You heard it here. But yeah, if you like what you're listening to, make sure you let us know. Obviously, that stuff's super important for us to know that people are listening, people care, especially in the downturn periods where things aren't as happy. That's when you know people are sticking around.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I know this was kind of off the cuff, but again, big shout out to the Foundation of Barnes Jewish, the big ribbon cutting ceremony tonight for the Rob Ebert and Greg Subfield Head and Neck Cancer Center at Siteman Cancer Center. So this was a fun one for us. We appreciate everybody kind of tuning in last minute.
Yeah, and Justin's going to put out a post for us here on Instagram and some of those pictures and videos from the night. So make sure you check that out as well. Some of the really big stuff that we're really, really proud of. So shout out to you all again for your support on this journey. And we'll be back with you all next week for another show. In the meantime, all for City.